The weak species. The arena of the Coalition Joint Military Academy was built to impress species that valued scale over subtlety. The ceiling rose so high it disappeared into shadow. Reinforced alloy plates lined the floor, each one etched with scars from previous demonstrations, craters from plasma blasts, gouges from talons, burn marks where something acidic had bled and hissed. Cadet Mara Cade stood at the center of it, hands clasped behind her back, boots planted shoulder-width apart. She felt very small, not because she lacked confidence, but because everything else was enormous. Across from her waited General Zarkul of the Vreth Dominion. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his body encased in layered combat, plating grown directly into his exoskeleton. His arms ended in blunt, armored fists designed for breaking fortifications and enemies with equal efficiency. Along his shoulders, ceremonial scars glowed faintly, marks of conquered worlds. Behind him, rows of Vreth soldiers stood in perfect formation. Behind Mara, human observers sat in a compact cluster, dwarfed by the alien delegation surrounding them. This was supposed to be a formality, a symbolic integration exercise, according to the Coalition briefing, a demonstration of unity, of cooperation, of where humanity stood in the galactic order. Mara knew what that really meant. Know your place. A Coalition marshal floated above the arena floor, his translation halo shimmering. This exhibition will demonstrate comparative combat physiology, he announced. General Zarkul has volunteered to. Volunteered? Zarkul interrupted, his voice booming even without amplification. Laughter rippled through the alien ranks. I am educating. His gaze dropped to Mara, cold and dismissive. Your species requested inclusion in the Coalition's military arm. Observation status has been generous. Mara kept her eyes forward. She had been trained for this. Don't react. Don't escalate. Let command handle the politics. Still, she could feel the weight of thousands of alien eyes measuring her. Bone density estimates flashing across retinal displays. Probability curves running in alien minds that already assumed the outcome. The general took a step closer. The floor vibrated. Your people are soft, Zarkul continued. No claws. No natural weapons. No armor. You bleed easily. You break easily. A Vreth officer called out. They rely on machines to fight for them. More laughter. Mara's jaw tightened. She tasted copper, not from injury, but from memory. Training bruises. Fractured ribs. Gravity drills that had left her vomiting and shaking, but still standing. She said nothing. The marshal hesitated. General, the cadet is not equipped for. I will not kill her, Zarkul said, almost bored. A single restraint strike. Enough to make the lesson clear. He raised one massive arm. From a human section, Commander Hale started to rise. General, if you... Mara spoke before he could finish. Sir, she said, her voice steady, amplified just enough. Cadet Mara Cade reporting as ordered. Every eye turned to her. Zarkul paused, surprised that the small human had spoken at all. You accept? Yes, sir. A ripple of confusion passed through the arena. Humans didn't accept challenges like this. Humans filed protests. Humans cited treaties. Humans avoided direct physical comparisons. Zarkul smiled, a predatory baring of plated teeth. Very well. He stepped in close. Too close for comfort. Mara could see the fine scoring along his armor, the micro-fractures where he had struck things that struck back. His fist drew back, muscles coiling like loaded artillery. This, he said, is mercy. The punch landed. For an instant, the world became noise and pressure. The impact drove the air from Mara's lungs and hurled her backward several meters. She hit the alloy floor hard, skidding until friction tore sparks from metal beneath her boots. The arena erupted, some in cheers, some in sharp intakes of breath. Human medics surged forward, then froze. Mara did not move. Zarkul turned away, already finished with her. Lesson concluded. Then, behind him, something scraped. Mara rolled onto her side. Pain flared bright and insistent along her ribs and shoulder. She acknowledged it, tagged it, locked it away. Her breath came back in controlled increments, just like training. She planted a hand on the floor and pushed. A murmur spread as she rose to one knee. Then two. Then stood. Her vision swam for a second before stabilizing. The world narrowed to focus. Zarkol felt it before he heard it, the shift in the crowd's attention. He turned slowly. Mara straightened her uniform. Her hands trembled, but they stayed open. Empty. I'm still functional, sir, she said evenly. Silence crashed down harder than the punch had. Zarkol stared at her, disbelief flickering across his hardened features. That strike had shattered armored infantry. He had measured it, calculated it, adjusted it. The human should have been unconscious, broken. Instead, she stood. Something unfamiliar stirred in the arena. Not amusement, not mockery, unease. Zarkol stepped toward her again, eyes narrowing. You are resilient, he said, but resilience delays the inevitable. Mara met his gaze for the first time. Yes, sir, she replied. That's usually when humans start responding. Somewhere in the human section, Commander Hale slowly smiled. And the galaxy, watching, leaned forward, still unaware that the demonstration had just changed direction. The human response. The silence after Mara's words stretched longer than any of the observers expected. Alien species communicated dominance loudly, through posture, volume, displays of force. Humans, Mara had learned, did it differently. You waited. You let the other side fill the space with their assumptions. Then you moved. General Zarkol broke the silence with a low, incredulous rumble. Responding, he repeated, as if tasting the concept. You believe this is an exchange? Mara stood exactly where she had been struck down. Her ribs screamed with every breath, but pain was data, not a command. She had been taught that early. Pain told you where the limits were. It didn't decide whether you stopped. Yes, sir, she said again. This is a combat evaluation. Laughter rippled through the alien ranks, louder now, edged with irritation. One of the Vreth officers gestured sharply. General, the cadet is impaired. The demonstration is complete. Zarkol raised a clawed finger, and the officer fell silent. He studied Mara with new interest. His species respected endurance, but only when paired with power. He did not yet see the power. He saw a smaller creature refusing to collapse. Very well, he said. You may attempt your response. Attempt. The word echoed in Mara's head as the marshal's voice cut in, uncertain. Rules of engagement remain unarmed, non-lethal force only. Of course, Zarkol replied. I do not require weapons. Neither do we, Mara thought. She took a single step forward. It wasn't fast. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't trigger any alarms. That was the first mistake. Alien combat doctrine prioritized speed and strength. Humans prioritized position. Mara's boots slid slightly as she adjusted her stance, aligning her center of mass. She felt the uneven vibration of the floor through the soles, feedback her body processed automatically. Zarkol watched unimpressed. She approaches like prey, he remarked. Mara closed the distance until she was well inside his striking range. Vreth soldiers shifted, some leaning forward, others tensing. Humans didn't step into reach. They stayed back. They fired from afar. Mara raised her hands, not in surrender, but in alignment. Permission to engage, sir? She asked, voice calm. Zarkol laughed once, sharp and metallic. Granted. He swung. It was faster than the first strike, aimed to end the spectacle decisively. His fist cut down toward her shoulder with enough force to cave armor. Mara moved. Not away. Under. She pivoted on her lead foot, slipping inside the arc of the blow. The punch passed inches from her head, the displaced air tugging at her hair. Her shoulder drove forward at the same time, slamming into the joint beneath Zarkol's plated arm. The general grunted, surprised more than hurt. Mara didn't stop. Her hands found seams in his armor where biological structure met grown metal. Fingers locked. She twisted, using his own momentum against him. The training flooded back in clean practice lines. Leverage, balance, collapse. Zarkol tried to pull back, but humans trained in higher gravity. Her weight meant more than it looked like. She stepped across his center line and drove her elbow up into the base of his neck. Precise, controlled, devastating. The general staggered. Gasps rippled through the arena. Mara followed with a short-range strike to the torso. Not a punch, but a focused kinetic transfer aimed at nerve clusters. She felt the impact resonate through her bones, up her arm, into her shoulder. Zarkol's knees buckled. For the first time in his long career, the Vreth general lost his footing. Mara finished the sequence with a sweep, hooking her leg behind his and pulling as she pushed at the same time. The massive alien crashed onto his back with a thunderous clang. The floor plates fractured beneath the impact. Dust and debris leapt into the air. Silence returned, but this time it was absolute. General Zarkol lay flat on the arena floor, limbs slack, armor sparking faintly as internal systems struggled to compensate. His chest rose and fell in erratic bursts. He did not rise. Mara stepped back immediately, hands open, posture neutral. She fought the urge to lean over, to check damage. Training held her in place. The marshal's voice cracked through the stillness. Medical teams. Stand down, came a human voice, calm and authoritative. Commander Hale had risen fully now, hands clasped behind his back, expression unreadable. Cadet Cade, he called. Report. Mara swallowed, her throat dry. Target neutralized, sir. Non-lethal. Structural integrity compromised, but stable. Sensors flickered across the arena displays. Data poured in, no fractures, no internal bleeding, just complete neuromuscular shutdown. Impossible. Zarkol groaned, consciousness returning in slow, humiliating fragments. He turned his head, eyes focusing on the small human standing a respectful distance away. She hadn't attacked in rage. She hadn't attacked to prove a point. She had ended the fight. What are you? He rasped. Mara met his gaze, breathing finally catching up with her. Human, she said simply. Around them, alien commanders stared in stunned disbelief. Because the truth was settling in, heavy and inescapable. That strike had not been the peak of human capability. It had been academy training. And somewhere deep in the Coalition's collective mind, a dangerous question began to form. If this is a cadet, what does a human soldier look like? Shockwaves. The arena did not erupt. That alone unsettled the Coalition observers more than the fallen general ever could. Silence held, thick, heavy, pressing against every species present. Data scrolled across tactical displays in frantic streams as medical drones finally descended, hovering uncertainly over General Zarkol's prone form. Their scanners painted his body in translucent light, searching for catastrophic failure that had to be there. They found none. No fractures detected, the lead medical unit announced, voice neutral and utterly confused. No organ rupture. Neuromuscular disruption consistent with controlled force application. Controlled. The word rippled through the translation systems, triggering murmurs among the alien delegations. Several commanders began speaking at once, overlapping in tones ranging from outrage to disbelief. This is deception, snapped a Krelith officer. Humans cannot generate that force unassisted. A hidden augmentation, another insisted. Internal weapons. Mara stood where she had been ordered, hands still open, pulse finally slowing. She felt every bruise now that the adrenaline had receded, but she didn't sway. Humans were taught that the fight didn't end when the opponent fell. It ended when authority said it did. General Zarkol stirred again, pushing weakly against the floor. His muscles responded sluggishly, like systems rebooting after a catastrophic error. His eyes fixed on Mara with something new in them. Not anger, confusion. The marshal raised both manipulators, struggling to restore order. The cadet acted within Coalition engagement parameters. All strikes were unarmed, non-lethal, and reactive. A Vreth captain snarled, mandibles flaring. Reactive? Our general struck first to demonstrate superiority. This was an ambush. Commander Hale's reply was immediate. then perhaps your doctrine should reconsider demonstrations that involve assaulting trainees. The words were mild. The implication was not. A large display ignited above the arena, replaying the encounter from multiple angles. The first punch, Mara's recovery, the engagement frame by frame. Alien analysts leaned forward as human combat specialists annotated the footage in real time. Notice the cadet's foot placement, a human instructor said calmly. Gravity compensation. She's anchoring before contact. Joint targeting, another added. She's not hitting armor. She's collapsing the system that moves it. The alien observers went quiet again as the truth became unavoidable. Mara hadn't overpowered Zarkul. She had outthought him. Zarkul finally managed to sit up, bracing one massive arm against the floor. The effort cost him visible strain. He looked at the fractured plating beneath his body, then at Mara, then at his own hand, still trembling slightly. He had been defeated, not by an elite champion, by a cadet. You did not fight to dominate, he said slowly, his voice rough. You fought to conclude. Yes, sir, Mara replied. What? The question was not rhetorical. Mara hesitated, aware of every eye on her. Then she answered the way she had been trained to. Because prolonged fights increase casualties, she said. Human doctrine prioritizes ending conflict quickly and decisively. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Then why restrain yourself? Zarkul pressed. Your first response. Why not strike harder? Mara glanced briefly toward Commander Hale. He gave a subtle nod. Because restraint is policy, she said. Escalation is expensive. The word expensive did not translate cleanly. Alien systems substituted terms like resource-intensive and strategically inefficient. The meaning landed anyway. The coalition marshal conferred rapidly with advisors, then turned back to the arena. This evaluation has exceeded its intended scope. No, Commander Hale said quietly. It has fulfilled it. Another display activated. This one showing human training facilities. High-gravity environments. Reinforced sparring machines. Simulations against enemies larger and stronger than anything present in the arena. Mara recognized some of the footage. She trained there, bled there. The alien delegates stared as humans on screen were thrown, struck, crushed, then rose again and adapted. Zarkul's gaze remained fixed on Mara. How many like you? He asked. She didn't answer. Commander Hale did. All of them, he said. That was when fear entered the room. Not panic, not hysteria. Calculation. Reclassification alerts began to flash across coalition systems. Threat matrices updated. Strategic assumptions rewrote themselves in real time. Humanity was no longer an auxiliary species. It was an unknown variable. The marshal finally spoke, voice tight. General Zarkul, do you concede the evaluation? The general was silent for a long moment. Then, with visible effort, he lowered his head, a formal Vreth gesture of acknowledgement. I concede, he said. The words carried weight. They echoed. Mara exhaled slowly for the first time since stepping into the arena. Cadet Cade, Commander Hale said, you are dismissed. Yes, sir. She turned and walked back toward the human section, boots steady despite the pain. She did not look back. Behind her, the coalition's understanding of humanity collapsed, and something far more dangerous began to take its place. The species that holds back. The arena was empty when the summit began. No crowds, no soldiers in formation, just representatives seated in widening circles, each species granted equal distance, and, for the first time, equal uncertainty. The floor repairs were still incomplete, fracture plates sealed but not erased. The damage remained visible. A reminder. Mara Cade sat at the rear of the human delegation, hands folded in her lap, wearing a fresh uniform. Medics had insisted. Her ribs were wrapped, her shoulder treated, and a dull ache lived beneath her skin. She welcomed it. Pain meant she had done her job and survived. At the center, General Zarkul stood again, supported by internal braces and pride held together by sheer discipline. He faced the assembly, then turned deliberately toward the human section. In my long service, he began, voice resonant but subdued. I have measured strength by size, force, and victory. Yesterday, those measures failed. No one interrupted. I struck a human cadet, he continued. I believed restraint equaled weakness. I was wrong. A ripple moved through the delegates. Apologies were rare among war species. Public ones rarer still. Zarkol inclined his head toward Mara. Cadet Cade demonstrated a truth my people overlooked. Control is not the absence of power. It is the mastery of it. Mara remained still. This was not about her anymore. The coalition marshal activated a hollow display, projecting revised classifications. Humanity's designation blinked and changed, lines of text rewriting decades of assumption. Humanity is hereby reclassified, the marshal announced, from provisional auxiliary force to Tier 1 combat civilization. The chamber erupted, not in outrage, but in frantic calculation. Representatives whispered, data streamed, diplomatic channels flared to life. Commander Hale rose, unhurried. We did not request this evaluation, he said calmly. Nor did we seek to make a statement. You asked what humans contribute to the coalition. Yesterday, you received a partial answer. Partial? Asked a crystalline envoy, voice sharp with unease. Yes, Hale replied. Cadet Cade was not authorized to escalate. That landed harder than any strike. The marshal frowned. Define escalate. Hale's gaze swept the chamber. Humans train under the assumption that conflict is chaotic, unfair, and lethal. What you witnessed was restraint. Doctrine. Baseline response. The hollow display shifted again. Training footage expanded. Humans in crushing gravity fields, adapting their movements. Recruits absorbing impacts that would shatter reinforced alien armor. Unarmed teams, disabling machines built to withstand artillery. This is our philosophy, Hale continued. We do not posture. We do not threaten. We prepare. And when conflict becomes unavoidable, we end it quickly. A murmur spread through the delegates, darker now. Zarkol exhaled slowly. Your cadet did not seek to humiliate me. No, Hale agreed. She sought to conclude the engagement. The general turned to face Mara fully. He paused, then lowered himself into a formal bow, deep, deliberate, unmistakable. I misjudged your species, he said. And you, Cadet Cade, on behalf of the Vreth Dominion, I apologize. Mara rose instinctively, returning a crisp nod. Acknowledge, sir, that more than anything sealed it. Not triumph, not arrogance. Professionalism. The summit continued for hours. Strategic frameworks were revised. Joint exercises postponed. Not canceled, but redefined. Human instructors were requested. Some delegates objected. Fewer persisted. By the time it ended, the galaxy was quieter. Not peaceful. Careful. Later, far from the chamber, Mara stood alone in the academy training hall. The familiar scent of metal and disinfectant grounded her. She wrapped her hands and approached the practice rig, a reinforced frame designed to strike back. Her first blow sent a jolt up her arm. Good. She welcomed it. Commander Hale watched from the doorway for a moment, then spoke. You did well. Thank you, sir. They'll study that footage for years, he said. They'll still get it wrong. Mara allowed herself a small smile. That's okay. Hale raised an eyebrow. They think yesterday was about strength, she said. It wasn't. And what was it about? Mara struck the rig again, harder this time. The frame shuddered. Restraint, she said. And what happens when it runs out? Hale nodded once and left her train. Across the coalition, doctrines shifted, treaties tightened, and war plans quietly added new contingencies. Because the galaxy had learned something vital. Humans do not look dangerous. Because they do not need to. They're dangerous. Because they choose when not to be. And somewhere in a vast, watchful universe, every species began asking the same question. What happens when humans stop holding back?